Welcome back, hunters. Today, we're diving into the May Update's most exciting edition, Hae-In, the Pure Sword Princess. Should you summon her? What does her skill set really offer? And what's the best way to build her for optimal results? Let's break it all down. Hae-In, in her Pure Sword Princess form, is not just a variant, she is an upgrade. This hunter blends swift melee combat, superior scaling, and one of the strongest stacking mechanics in the game. From the moment she enters the battlefield, the Pure Sword Princess effect activates, passively increasing the damage of both Sword of Destiny and Heavenly Strike by 60%. This boost lasts infinitely. No need to reapply. She also enhances the effect called Will of the Sword, a stacking gauge system. Every time the gauge fills, it grants 10% defense, 2% crit rate, and 2% crit damage. With her enhanced version, those buffs increase to 10% defense, 4% crit rate, and 4% crit damage, stacking up to 6 times, lasting 15 seconds per stack. That means, at full stacks, she gains 60% bonus defense, 24% crit rate, and 24% crit damage, passively. Once the gauge reaches 100%, it triggers Sword's Resolve. This temporarily upgrades Heavenly Strike into Heavy Attack, Heavenly Strike, which deals 60% more damage and consumes the full Will of the Sword gauge once the duration ends. But it doesn't stop there. When using her skill called Heavenly Strike, she also activates the Blade Master state. This changes her core attack into Dance of Scattered Blades, a flurry-style rapid slashing form that gives her super armor and allows free use of her core gauge for 5 seconds. As if that wasn't enough, she can also apply strong debuffs. When Heavenly Strike hits, it inflicts the unrecoverable effect, preventing healing for 30 seconds. When Sword of Destiny hits, it inflicts Paralyze, interrupting enemies for 3 seconds. If you're running a water team, her potential increases even further. For every water attribute teammate, she gains 7% crit rate and 7% crit damage, up to a maximum of 3 stacks. That's 21% bonus to both stats, just from synergy. Now, what about gear? Let's talk sets. The best options are Iron Will, for more defense scaling, Outstanding Ability, for balance between defense and crit, Chaotic Infamy, for boss and team content scaling, Executioner, solid for accessories, boosting core attack impact. Avoid the Expert set. It scales from raw attack, and that's not where she excels. Her crit damage is important, but her main damage scaling comes from defense. The higher her defense, the harder she hits. Plain and simple. Unlike most DPS hunters who rely on attack, Hae-In converts defense into offensive power. This means defensive substats are no longer just survivability tools. They directly amplify your burst damage. Now, Advancement. At Advancement 1, Sword Storm changes to Quick Attack. Sword Storm, gaining 60% more damage. At Advancement 2, using Heavenly Strike activates Blade Master. Advancement 3 enhances Will of the Sword. At Advancement 4, she gains a powerful synergy bonus with Water-type allies. For every Water team member in the party, her critical hit rate increases by 7%, and her critical hit damage increases by another 7%, stacking up to 3 times. That's a potential 21% bonus to both crit rate and crit damage, just for building a Water-themed team around her. At Weapon Advancement 5, her sword provides a massive power spike. First, it grants a flat 12% increase to her defense. Then, every time the Will of the Sword gauge recharges, it triggers a passive effect that adds 6% more defense, stacking up to 60 times. That means a potential 360% bonus defense, infinitely stacking. On top of that, it passively boosts all of her main stats, attack, defense, and HP, each by 9%. This weapon doesn't just enhance survivability, it directly fuels her damage output, since her core attacks scale entirely from defense. Now, let's go into stats and substats. On gear, main stat should be defense, crit rate, and crit damage. For substats, Aim for extra defense, crit damage, and attack. MP and skill damage bonus are fine but secondary. On boots, go for crit damage, not defense. On accessories, focus on crit and crit damage. Again, mana points are acceptable but not ideal. Now, the core build. For mind, take Eyes of the Watcher. It increases crit damage of core attacks by 20%. For body, choose anything with strong base stats, preferably defense and crit. For spirit, use Teeth of the Watcher. It reduces MP skill cost by 12% and slows down mana drain, tightening her skill cycle. Skill-wise, keep it simple. Focus on her basics, ultimate, and core system. Her skill rotation flows naturally, keeping her in Triumph state, also known as Princess Mode. This gives her additional mobility, guaranteed hits, and that signature grace in combat. Use her ultimate to buff your damage output, especially your first 2 active skills. The crit damage buff you gain can flip a fight instantly. Final verdict: Hae-In, the Pure Sword Princess, is a powerful, stylish, and well-rounded limited hunter. Yes, her gear setup can be frustrating. Yes, the substat randomness might give you emotional damage. But when it works, she is a menace. A crit-stacking, defense-scaling, sword-dancing menace. So if you're still asking, should you summon? Yes. Build her right, and let the princess reign. Thanks for watching.